Hello everyone and welcome back again. I hope all of you are sound and safe and all of you are doing well today as well. This is Rima Sharvaji and today I'd like to discuss a topic about the impact of the language on the lesson poem by Maya Angelou. But right from the beginning, I listed here some main facts about the poet. We are going to discuss her poem later because these facts will guide us to a better understanding of a poem. So if you find yourself interested, you can stop the video and read them. So as you see here, this is the lesson poem by Maya Angelou, and I'd like to leave it for the one who would like, to warm himself or herself before moving to the analysis. But for those who are following, welcome back again. And as you are familiar with, understanding the theme behind any text will guide us to a better understanding of the text ends up, or the usage of the language and literary devices and stuff. That's why I'll give you now, a brief explanation about the text itself before moving to the analysis. So let's get started. So as you see here, this is the first part of the previous mentioned poem, and we divided it in three parts to make sure that you are following. So in the first part, it seems like that the persona is trying to tell us by saying, I keep on dying again. I'd notice again, which is something weird, like he's trying to tell us that I am the one who's familiar with that. I know that as if he's a human, as if he's, something, materialized. And I do it wherever I go. He's around me. He's part of me. I notice, which is something, weird for the readers. And that's why he gives us, it kind of a metaphor to support his idea by saying, veins collapse, opening like a small fist of sleeping children. I notice this metaphor contain or connected to our body. We have veins collapse, we have children, something, in the real world. He's trying to materialize his feelings to us, to make us understand him deeply, to make us, kind of believe his ideas, kind of sympathize with him. Memory of all tombs, rotting of flesh and worms, do not convince me against the challenge. So, as you notice here, it seems that the poet is trying to mention things related directly to it, as if she's trying to emphasize the idea of familiarity and how the speaker is really, familiar with that. He felt it before. Or it could be that she's trying to give us kind of logic by saying memory of old tunes. As if the speaker is trying to tell us that it could be that all of these hard circumstances, or as a result of the ones who passed away, the ones I really, missed, the ones I've ever lost. And then we have rooting of flesh and wounds, which is really, in images related directly to death, to hard circumstances, to dead bodies and stuff. But then we have like a twist by saying, did not convince me against the challenge. As if the speaker, continues and saying, I know that most of the readers right now saw that all of these things are mentioned earlier will make me down, will give me up, but it won't. I will never let things to make me down, to give me up. I will continue my life as it is. I know it's really hard. I know that there is kind of no escape, but I accept the challenge. I will continue my life as it is, and I will stay here till the end. The years and cold fate leave deep lines along my face. They dull my eyes, yet I keep on dying cause I love to love. So it seems here that the persona or the speaker himself is trying to tell us that all of these circumstances I came through before or I came through these days, they weren't easy at all. They weren't tough enough to leave their impacts upon my face, upon my physical appearance, upon my health. And even you can read them by these lines on my face, by the little eyes I had. But then he still twists things and rejected by saying, yet I keep on dying because I love to laugh. As he's also trying to tell us that yes, I accepted to live through these hard circumstances to these, things that hang, hanging my life, hanging me, occupied every part of my body, till they became part of me, I myself, just because I'm seeking life, I'm waiting for a better tomorrow, and I'm waiting for my disguise. So now, after taking a brief explanation about the lesson poem by Maya Angelou, we are going to examine how the language, the diction, and the literary devices reflects the theme of the poem itself. So right from the beginning, we will notice how the poem opening his, the poet opening his poem by the first person of pronoun I, by saying I keep on dying, and also we have here convince me, my face, dull my eyes, and it's also important to notice how the poet opening his poem by the first person of pronoun I keep on dying, and he repeated again the first person pronoun and the structure himself again. And notice how the first person pronoun repeated to conclude again twice. And this has and this thing has kind of two possibilities. Could be that the poet himself wants us to create that vicious circle to give us that sense of these hard conditions, these circumstances around the speaker is something without any end. It's something endless, and uh, it is something repeated. It's kind of a daily routine for the speaker. And also, it could be that the speaker himself wants us to create that image that he had the ability to control his life from the beginning till the end of the poem. And it's important how we emphasize the things by saying, I keep on dying, and think also, I laughed in it. As he trying to tell us, I have the ability to control. I still have the ability to overcome and also to master my life. In addition to this, it is so important and clear here how the poet uses or employs the present tenses throughout the whole poem, which indicates kind of the idea of continuity, that there is, or these struggles or these hard circumstances are something was existed, and still it is something had an action, something move around, uh, something here. Uh, it kind of makes us to understand the idea that there is no temporary here. There's something endless. Those struggles are still, and their struggles had an action right now in that day or in that moment that the reader read this poem. And it is also important to or significant to realize how the poet tried to personifying the struggle, personifying the issues around, personifying these circumstances to the readers, as if it's trying to us to understand like these circumstances had an action. These circumstances are like an army occupying the reader. Occupying the persona, and it could be that he gives them kind of a voice or an action by these by these by personifying them as if they are occupied the text itself. It gives us that kind of humanized or or materialized things to understand or uh, to get the idea of how tough these circumstances to live in, and also to sympathize with the persona in the same time. Like we have here, Vince collapse, convince me, love deep, and dull. All of these verbs are kind of near to describe humans rather than just objects. And when you return here to the second line, we have veins collapse, opening like small fists of sleeping children. It is important to notice how also the persona trying to materialize and to get us, to get things near as much as possible to our heart, to our mind. It gives us like that chance to live this struggle with them. by saying like the small fists of sleeping children. Notice how he like give us a simile of things related to our mind, related to our life, related to the reality around. And also it is so much important how he describe things as sleeping children, and because the use of the word children herself, and you notice he capitalized things children. He had like a symbol, or yeah, he symbolized life, symbolized innocence, and could be the that the capitalize of the word children here gives also that sense of there is someone who like uh carried things, or carried that circumstances which is bigger than his mind and his age. That's itself, I mean. And it's also important to realize the alliteration also here when he's saying small fists of sleeping children. Here also the persona trying to create an image for the position around, for the fighting, for the struggle. And the repetition of a sound give us that idea of something cold, loneliness, like if he's alone in a solitude, in a lonely night, nobody with him, and he's just alone, he's fighting all of these circumstances around with no kind of support, or like if there's something occupying him, but while he's like kind of silenced. And these two lines themselves carried a literary device called a metaphor when saying opening like small fists of sleeping children. And this is important how, this metaphor came after, describing the collapsed winds. And notice how the metaphor came before, or came to support the idea of, feeling death before, when saying I keep on dying again, which is something weird to the readers or understandable to some extent. Like, how can somebody die again? So the metaphor here came to make things near to us as much as possible, and to describe the vibes around, to give us the idea that this person's really felt it before, and give us the description of his feelings, or his bad memories. And again, here the death to some extent, didn't mean, he didn't mean that I really, felt it, the death itself, but it could be that the death here caused by the hard, the hard circumstances, the psychological, that the you know the psychological data inside him, like if he's telling us like I appeared like as an uh, alive, but I have already dead. Because again, writing this text itself gives us, it's considered an action, gives us a kind of an action, a sort of something alive. So it is also support the idea of struggle, of fighting, of rejecting things, which is so many important, sorry, which is so much important to connect it with the theme itself. And there is also an important issue to raise here, that many poets prefer to use their poetic license either to fix, or to deliver a message, or even to suit the smooth of the lines of their poem. So right here in this poem, we have, some positions where the poetic license is used. So here in the second line, we have opening, like the small fists of sleeping children. So the verb opening here, if we consider it as a verb, it is grammatically correct. So it must be are opening like the small fists of sleeping children, which is the present continuous verb. And also we have here memory of all teams. It seems here that the poet um, leave it as it is to give us that sense of sympathy, that if the persona want to tell us that all of these bad memories are flows at once in my mind. So the poet here keep it as it is, rather than, or yeah, or instead of put indefinite article kind of like, I mean, uh, the definite article there, like the memory of all tunes, because he don't want any, distractions between the bad memories and the persona himself to describe how near or how close these circumstances to him, or kind of how they are part of the speaker himself. And also we have here live deep and lines like my face. The adjective here deep is something wrong because we have the verb, so we need an adverb to describe the verb, so it must be live deeply. And I don't think so that this is kind of something I'm sorry, normal, or that the poet used to, especially that the poet herself. I'm sorry if I mix things by his or her because there's a persona and the poet song. Sorry. Okay. So I was saying that lift even lines along my face is wrong because we need an adverb, so it must be lived deeply, especially that the poet is a contemporary poet, I mean, of the 20th century, which is the English we're using these days. So, no, I don't think so that this is something normal or used. So I think it's a poetic license. There is something important here to mention and to take into consideration as well, which is the repetition in the text. So we notice here how the poet uses the negative words twice to twist things. I mean, or kind of to turn things down. I'm sorry, not to turn things down, to turn things upside down, to give us a different idea, far from the one which is kind of expected at first, especially after mentioning these struggles and tough, issues. And it's also important how the poet opening his poem and close it with the same structure, you know. And the repetition of that structure itself give us that sense that if the speaker wants us to understand that all these bad feelings are still existed, are settled down in my body, in my mind, and start fighting right there, which is something so important to mention. And also notice how the first person pronoun itself is repeated, and how, which is something really interesting and wonderful. Uh, we notice how the structure I keep on dying again repeated it twice, but the first person pronoun I repeated, for the third time, here one and also here and also because I love to live again, and there is kind of the kind of freedom or kind of sense of ability, some kind of control, how he kind of twists things or divided himself here because I want to live, and to give us this sense of that how he's seeking life, how he's seeking better circumstances to some extent. And near to this, or to the conclusion, we have also the binaries. We have the verb live, and we have death, and we have live, which is something important. And we have noticed how the verb live repeated here again, twice in the with the binaries, and also uh, it is the last word of the poem, which is something so significant and something important and amazing as well. So what I'd like to say now that all of these literary devices that are mentioned here are masterfully used by Maya Angelou to indicate the issue, to deliver a messages implicitly and directly, to share sadness with others, or to release somebody or somewhere who feel like he's alone, and to make us to kind of sympathize and feel others, and to give us that sense that literature is part of every time, part of everybody, part of every everybody's life. And this is the power of literature, and this is the power of the word when the word is kind of masterfully used. And this is the power and the creativity, and how genius a particular poet is. So it seems right now that we are embracing the ends, and just to make sure that you arrange things correctly and smoothly, we will sum up things too. So we noticed how the persona uses the first person narrator throughout the whole poem. It is also clear how the poet uses the present simple tenses to present the sense of activity, strength, and an endless struggle. The poet preferred to personify her circumstances around to embody and bring things down to the reader. And notice here, I consider the poet as the persona. In addition, she used simile and metaphors, which added a sense of sympathy. Furthermore, in sense of logic, the poet moves directly to mention things that others would think that it will lead her to give up by using a poetic license again. But still, the use of negative words indicate her intensity to live the challenge, which is her life. Then the poet moved to express the impact of this struggle upon her health and physical appearance. In addition, we realize how she personified things again and gave them sense of action as a human. And to conclude, she emphasizes her rejection to give up, yet she ended her poem with the same structure, I keep on dying, but this time with the reason, binaries, and repetition of the pronoun I to indicate her ability to control and master. This is the end of our presentation. I hope it was interesting for you and everything is clear and understandable. Take care of yourself, stay sound and safe, and